All right, peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum, shalom. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back. This is the Doc and the Radical program. Peace and blessings, Doc. It's good to be back with you. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good, brother. Good to be back at home, man. Good to be home, man. We can't, feel like Christians who we ain't been to service in a while. The world beat up on you. You shouldn't miss too many Sundays because you need
definitely.
that vitamin, that fiber, being around family, brother.
Yes, sir. I say, it's one thing to, to be a spokesperson, speaking for yourself, your own organization is a totally different thing. Trying to be a spokesperson on behalf of your family. There's different things that you have to take in consideration, especially when you're speaking on media and speaking about events like we had with the death of our president. But I'm glad the major part of that is over. We got one more event that's coming up on the 24th, and then back to business as usual. But I've definitely learned a lot, and it's not easy to represent family in such cases, because especially when you're used to being able to say what you want to say, how you want to say it, but when you have to take those special things in consideration of who you're speaking on behalf of, and what's okay with them, and it's just a tightrope to walk. But yeah, it's just it's so much that I definitely want to say. But one thing that I have noticed, whenever the government do something that's definitely wrong, and information may come out that the government had a hand in it, they always try to pay people off. And unlike previous attacks where U.S. soldiers come under fire, nobody ever was promoted. Here everybody was promoted who died. Everybody went up in rank. That has never been done before. Whatever you died, whatever rank you were when you died, that's the rank that you were. But there's so many falsehoods about this thing that we'll get into it one day, just not today, but we will definitely go there. Our topic today that we're dealing with is dereliction of duty. Dereliction of duty. And when we're thinking of dereliction of duty, I want us to be able to expand it, not just to the outside, but to us as well. And we're going to look at several different cases and see whether or not there's a real dereliction of duty. Doc, when you hear that term, what comes to mind for you when you hear dereliction of duty? What comes to your mind?
Something much more significant than the idea of just dropping the ball. In many ways, you're talking about an absence of failure, of holding the line, of adhering to duty. One of my favorite movie scenes of all time is the very beginning of The Gladiator, when you have Russell Crowe and his men lined up and they're getting ready to take on the horde. And Russell Crowe just simply goes down the line and simply says to them, strength and honor, strength and honor. And that's, in many ways, though, those are core principles of what you should be doing. Strength and honor, strength and honor. Holding the line and understanding that you have a duty, a responsibility that can't be escaped, that you need to adhere to. So when I hear dereliction of duty, I see the abandonment of strength and honor and duty. And I also see fundamental, foundational, world changing consequences for your dereliction of duty.
Excellent, excellent. And so when we think about our time here in America post, or when would you say we would actually use the term post civil rights? When would you actually use that term?
For me, as a a Black Power historian, I really would like to say that our post civil rights period, although I know that we have the affirmative action fight, we have the Alan Bakke fiasco. I would tie it to actually Dr. King's death, April 4th, 1968, as the beginning of the post civil rights period. And that's being generous, because there is a loosening of the reins that we see these old guard civil rights leaders, Andrew Young, King, no need to even mention Abernathy, Fred Shuttlesworth. The people have in many ways run out from beneath their control. And if you remember during the series of riots, and we have to remember that the first riot actually is going to be first major riot is going to be the Watts Rebellion, that happens weeks after LBJ signs the Voting Rights Act.
Mm-hmm.
King can't stop these people in Watts, South Central LA, from rioting. Those are Malcolm's people. And so one could argue, you could push it all the way back to 65. You could start at October 15th, 1966 with the creation of the Black Panther Party. But I would use April 4th, 1968, because it's finished then. And we see as Malcolm would put it, it was a circus with clowns and all. And within 5 short years, affirmative action and the idea of reparations for Black folk through that context is largely absconded by our so-called politicians and political scientists. They allowed other folk to come in and steal that right. So post-civil rights for me is April 4th, 1968.
Okay, perfect. I want to take a second and welcome Brother Willie Rivers to the program. Blessings, Brother Willie. We want to welcome Earth Angel 1105 Remix to the program. Peace and blessings. And Doc Earth Angel says about the book. What's the book? I was expecting, waiting patiently.
Well, I mean, the first volume of Foolish Floyd is available on Amazon. The second one, the Contrarian Returns, has been finished, and I'm getting focused, like Jay-Z. I'm focused, man, to get that out within the next couple of weeks. So would appreciate you supporting Foolish Floyd, because Floyd is a joy for people to read, and Floyd is he'll remind you of that crazy uncle you got, who looks at some things that are, maybe from a different view than most normal people would. But principally the basis of the book, Langston Hughes had Jesse B. Simple. I got Foolish Floyd. and we talk about issues impacting and affecting Black America in different venues. We talk about the idea of Black colleges. We talk about the idea of affirmative action. Um, One of my favorites is Floyd refuses to boycott Christmas. Black
Mm.
folk were leading a Christmas boycott, and Floyd comes out and says, "Oh no, we ain't boycotting Christmas," because, as he puts it, he liked getting the gifts that he get from his ladies, if you know what
Mm.
I mean. So, yeah, yeah. So it's an enjoyable read. Not so dense. It's a book that I would read.
Definitely, definitely. So now you said that the post civil rights is April 4th, 1968. That
That's where
it's
I would put it, because such a monumental thing occurred, King being killed.
definitely, definitely. I would definitely agree with that. Um, and so the development from civil rights moving into Black Power.
Hmm.
Um, when you compare the, I guess, compare the aims of the civil rights, and I would say that their aims was the voting rights. Um, Plus, I would say um, bring in real equality, because I believe that their understanding was with the voting rights comes equality, real equality. Um,
Well,
would you?
integration,
Mhm.
so that you're no different from anyone else.
Okay. Now, that's what the civil rights movement wanted. What did Black Power? What was the aims of Black Power?
The the most disappointing thing about looking at the Black Power era is, except for what Stokely Carmichael / Kwame Ture and Charles Hamilton put together, a workable definition for Black Power. Black Powerites are fighting each other, and they're arguing about what is the correct way to go. And there are hundreds of different variants. They're kind of like Marxist Black Power politics and Black Power theologians, um, theorists. But principally, it breaks down into two groups. The first group being revolutionary nationalists, who are working for the literal overthrow in one variation or another of white power and white control over Black institutions. And then you have cultural nationalists, who are so focused upon this idea of carving out a new culture for Black folk. These are brothers who, Kuji Chagalia, those Kwanzaa things. You have the change in dress, with dashikis, the use of a different language and what have you. Um, for me, it's revolutionary nationalism that is the most significant expression of Black Power, and the correct one. And when you boil it down to its very last compound, you're dealing with what Malcolm said, that we believe that, just like every other race, Black folks should own the economics, the education, the politics, and the politicians within their community, and allow them to do what it is that they can do within their community. The same thing that the Jews do, the same thing that the Irish have done, the same thing that now this 20th century brand of whiteness has been able to do. You don't see um, a Jewish school coming and getting Black teachers and educators and allowing them to pour into their children, especially when you get with the understanding of religion and worldview, and what these really macro ideas are. It's every other group has achieved via the educational system something that could be best termed, and we talked about this, on here before, the idea of manufacturing consent. It's not accidental that students who are leaving Notre Dame are going to be pro-life. They're Catholic, and everything that they've read has created a moral dilemma for them, sort of solved a moral dilemma for them of what is the correct way of going. What would God want? Black folk need the exact same thing. One of the things that we've not done a good job of is what other groups have done, which is supplementing a public school education. And if we're not going to supplement our intellectual diet with blackness, with guided blackness, what are we doing? Because we'll never get out of this. As scripture says, as a man thinketh, so is he. And let's be honest, so many of our leaders, so many of our children are white-minded. And you can tell by their actions that they're white-minded. Black folk don't act the way that many of these people are acting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Definitely. What do you think produces riots? Is it racism, or is it economic exploitation? What is it that produces riots?
You want the black version or the white version?
The black version.
Okay, the catalyst for riots is a host of socioeconomic issues. Riots are in many ways a last gasp, a scream that you're getting from the poor and the downtrodden. There isn't one source. You're talking about poverty socioeconomically. You're talking about illiteracy that runs from political to economic to social to cultural, where people know something is wrong, but they don't have a way. They don't have the tools to analyze it, let alone to diagnose it and to solve it on their own. And so when you see riots occurring, you're looking at a wild, uncontrolled outlashing that occurs. And once it settles, once the riot is over, and we look at this thing with a reasonable mind from a logical lens, only people who've been hurt are Black grandmothers and Black children, because all you've done is made it more difficult for them to get the resources that they so desperately need on a daily basis. You haven't changed the political system at all. If anything, what you've done is you have fortified and reminded white folk of what they created, as James Baldwin would put it, a nigger. Mm. The nigger is not the creation of Black America. The nigger is created by white folk.
Mm-hmm. And so do you say that there is there's nothing that you can gain good out of a riot?
No. I mean, you can get an emotional release out of a riot, but as far as solving the multiple and interlocking socioeconomic and educational and land and property problems, you haven't solved any of those. It's in many ways very similar to, and I'm not trying to offend the 5% Nation of Islam, but it's very similar to having a cipher. You're going to sit around and you're going to talk shit. And in many ways, it amounts to little more than a mental masturbation session. It felt good while you did it. You had some hope. You can do it with others if you so choose. But from the beginning to the very end, what you have is wasted water. Mm-hmm. Nothing has been achieved. And those are things that, to be honest with you, that we need to really be talking about. The idea right now of revolution is not sexy. It's not, you're not going to overthrow the United States government. It's not, that's not going to happen. So the idea of changing the world, and keep in mind what Huey P. Newton said, that to move one grain of sand is to change the world. But the change that we need is going to be flowing out of economics. It's going to be flowing out of the classroom, out of the voting booth.
So do you think that, and I'm gonna put it like this, and you can, you know, rearrange it, reword it if you think, but the blacks riot and the African Americans benefit. And when I say the African Americans benefit, because Time magazine, the news channels, they can't go into the heart of the riot. So they have to
Mhm.
find them some African Americans that's willing to go out there and get the news and bring it back. So would you agree that the blacks riot and the African Americans benefit?
I don't know if I would agree with the African Americans benefit, because
Hmm.
the idea of them benefiting means that the way I interpret it is that they're steps closer to liberation.
Hmm.
And to be honest with you, the fact that they are at the beck and call of white folk and are being forced to go into a war zone, what amounts to a war zone, um, speaks volumes to their absence of freedom, liberation, or having their own interest and what have you. One could argue that the black folk who are rioting are more free than the African Americans who are going in there to cover the riots. At least they have the courage to do something, to make a move and what have you, a move
Hmm.
that is substantially more beneficial than running back and telling white folk who created the very conditions that led to this what's actually going on. I would argue that the African Americans that you're speaking about are the cowards, because they're not standing for anything outside of a check that Time or
Hmm.
Newsweek is going to deliver to them. That's what it is.
Right.
Liberation is not even an option for them.
Hmm.
They have to do what white folk told them to do. And if they
Hmm.
don't do it, then amazingly, they're no longer African Americans. Now they're blacks, and
Hmm.
they're back over there in black land.
Exactly. So then we would say that in order for their advancement into like
African Americans.
right, and
Okay.
for their advancement into white America, it's at the, I really don't want to say the expense of blacks, but it's at the condition maybe of
Yeah.
blacks.
Yeah.
Is that?
I mean, the thing is that there are two things going on. You can go ahead and make advancements in America without necessarily directly harming black folk. That is possible. But you're not going to reach the financial stratosphere usually without, and I'm talking about billionaire status,
Mhm.
through a black road, through a black path. The path to that type of money, and I won't call it wealth, I'll call it money. The path to that money is paved by white folk. And I'll say this about being a person who loves hip hop. Name me one of these hip hop billionaires, and I'm talking about Rihanna, I'm talking about Jay, all of them, whose wealth does not sizably flow from their association with a white institution or entity.
No, I don't think there is any.
Okay, so if there isn't any, and this is sort of the dilemma that we deal with when we're dealing with professional athletes, and things have gotten much better, sort of taking a pendulum swing back to that early 60s moment when we had Jim Brown, Lou Alcindor, and all of those guys speaking out on behalf of black folk, finally showing a black political voice that reminded me of the great athlete Paul Robeson. But when you're looking at holding someone's feet to the fire, the only way you can hold someone's feet to the fire is if you're responsible for their existence, their ascension, or what have you. And when you are not, you need to sit down, shut the fuck up, because they really can't hear you. They don't owe you anything. Okay, who signs that check? Who goes in and talks to them and says to them, listen? that's going to be bad for your next contract. And if the goal is the next contract, it's, it's always what is the outcome that you want? If the outcome that you want is to be a independent, righteous black man, you can do that without any money. But if your goal is riches, is $1 million contract, there's only one way there. And that way is going to be strewn with black bodies. But at the end of that road, you're going to find white folk. And now the question becomes, and we refer to it as networking. Okay. Well, that networking that they're talking about is ingratiating yourself to white folk, to white world supremacy. You need for them to say, yeah, he's a good old boy. They have to have a comfort with you. It's one of the logical reasons why you find so many mega stars, black and white, with white women on their arms. That white woman is able to open some doors and create some comfort level for you that no black woman could ever do. And that's no diss the sisters being dope as they are. It's that the individuals who are owning entities have never been around black folk. They don't understand anything about you. And it's not necessarily that they don't care to, but they're running a business. What's the most reliable way of advancing my business? And it is to invest in people that you can trust and that you're comfortable with. And you may be hard pressed to find multi-billionaire white men who are comfortable with trusting black people. Because the racial brand is so damaged. I mean, look at what just happened in Kansas City.
So now I haven't really been following up on that. That was a black person who did the shooting?
Yeah, I think that was homegrown, bro.
Oh, yep. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, I haven't followed up on that. I knew it happened, but I didn't know. I automatically assumed there was a white boy who done shot up some stuff like normal.
No. They shoot up schools. And then the thing is also that when they remember the Vegas shooting, they ain't missing. They're shooting to kill, and they're using high velocity, high impact munitions when they do a shooting. This ain't no just regular walk up and shoot you type thing.
Yeah, I have to look into that. I didn't even. Wow. And so, and you had said something about holding them accountable. By that
holding who accountable?
Where you were talking about you really don't have the power to hold them accountable. And we say things, or not we as you and I, but our talking heads say things to the common black man and woman about, we got to hold Biden feet to the fire. We got to do this. We got to do this. Yeah. And all that is just bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just bullshit, as you were just saying. At some point, and what is that point where, the regular black folk that's, going to work, coming home, doing what they're supposed to do, thinking that they're being, a productive citizen. And I'm going to show a quick video of two of these. At what point do they wake up and understand that in essence, you're not moving forward at all. And then these talking heads that, black, and you see black, and they're telling you A, B, C, and D is feeding you some bullshit. At what point is that wake-up call that should be clocking, turning on their head? What point does that get turned on?
There's a great saying that politics is the sport of gentlemen. which means that politics and the thinking of substantive things is the purview of the well-educated, the well-heeled. Let's be honest about this. The ability to analyze something politically requires a certain level of not only intellect and education, but also a certain amount of leisure time. These people, and Karl Marx refers to them as the lumpen proletariat, and he warns any organization against incorporating too many of the prolats into their organization because they can't be trusted. They're too poor to have morality, to have morals, to have, they're too poor. They can't afford it. How many Black people do you know, honestly, who, if they were pulled to the side from some well-heeled entity and offered $250,000, would not turn on their people?
Well, I would think that I know a good number that would reject that. I would think.
You think, but honestly, that would be enticing to a lot of people. This idea of receiving a financial windfall, okay, in exchange for testimony, in exchange for their thinking, what have you, especially when you're dealing with the people who are fed ad nauseum the idea of luxury lifestyle. We have women in our race who want to go to Paris. They want to go to Italy. Why the fuck would you want to go spend your money to go around more white folk? Why? They don't want you over there. You'll break your neck to buy some clothing so that you got a sticker on your back. Remember that red bottom summer where sisters were going out trying to buy red bottom? You can't even see the bottom of the damn shoes. Okay, but it meant something to their self-esteem to be able to do that. So I say that to say this: when you're talking about when will they turn it on, I don't believe they ever will. I just don't, because they don't have the luxury of political organization. They don't have the luxury of going to the meeting at night. They don't have the luxury of doing a lot of things. And the thing is that oftentimes our people need to go ahead and just kick back and enjoy life. Because in many ways, we're hunted in one way or another on a continual basis. When do you breathe? As Terry McMillan put it, waiting to exhale. When do you breathe? When do you laugh? When do you enjoy life? And when you're talking about common everyday people, they're just trying to make it to the next moment, not even the next day, the next moment. And I think that we know this to be true if we begin to think about people whose lives we know. There are some Black children, some brown children, some white children even, who tomorrow will go to that lunchroom and not have any money on their account. Life is going to happen to all of us. And so the idea of being able to recognize, to realize, to talk about who's your state representative, who represents your district in Congress, who's your senator. I would venture to guess many people don't even know who their governor is, let alone what he's done and what his policies are. What is his next thing that he's doing? We're not even the majority of us are not even in that game. We trying to make it here in Houston. We trying to make it down to the turkey leg hut. We ain't talking about going over there to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party or the Libertarians.
Would you call that a dereliction of duty because you don't know?
I would call it a dereliction of duty because you have not reorganized your priorities to make such things important so that you can create communities and areas. And basically, as Najee, one of my favorite jazz artists, Najee has a song called Room to Breathe.
Mhm.
It's only through that type of organization, that type of being able to slow it down through the rearrangement of what's really important to prioritize. Unless you do that, you'll never have room to breathe. It'll never happen for you. And that's just what it is. It'll never happen for you. So that's the dereliction of duty. The dereliction of duty is putting the self before everything else that your people need. Because you want to go out and get drunk, you want to go out and get high, you want to go over there to London and walk around aimlessly. That's the dereliction of duty. Not knowing is not necessarily the dereliction of duty, but not seeking it out is.
Mm. So in essence, it's okay not to know, but it's not okay not to know that you don't know, that you need to know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the community wide dereliction of duty is the absence of organization to bring those who do know together and to be able and to have that intellectual curiosity to be compelled to want to go to the community forum and learn. That's the dereliction of duty. And we're all in one way or another. I think that we all could do a better job of that. However, we need for those who do not know to want to come and to learn and not to show up and just act a fool and argue about things they don't know about.
Excellent, excellent, Doc. I want to go to this first video and let's talk about it.
And meet the needs of people who are.
Don't mean a damn thing, because I'm black and he white. He might not have no qualifications at all for us up here. And I don't feel like I didn't finish school, but I don't feel like I'm the dumbest nigga in the world.
They take everything you got away. Have you ever walked into a place and they ask you, what are you on? And have you ever been, you go to a doctor's office, and you see a lot of people's writing out checks, and you have them on your Medicaid slip. Because you can't pay for yours. So that takes respect from you. It takes everything you got away from you, really. I did work after I had my baby. And I wasn't living in a Section 8, and I was paying rent, light, and gas, and I couldn't afford it. Plus, I was paying child care and everything, so therefore I couldn't afford to pay child care and all that, so I had to quit.
If you work the same area regular, the people out there know you.
I want to talk about those two.
They're going to know what'll get.
Those two, our brother and our sister.
Give me the opportunity that you would give anybody else, because understand me, ain't number flesh and blood, maybe my skin a little bit darker, but that don't mean a damn thing, because I'm black and he white. He might not have no qualifications at all for us up here. And I don't feel like I didn't finish school, but I don't feel like I'm the dumbest nigga in the world.
Okay. Now, I think what our brother ended with is, hey, I didn't finish school, but I don't feel like I'm the dumbest nigga in the world. So they're not, and I want to welcome Maya to the program. Peace and blessings, Maya. We're glad that you're here with us. Just looking at what he said, and then we're going to get into what our sister said. How would you rank what our brother is saying? Dealing with the education. He may not have the education as somebody else, but he still should be able to do what needs to get done. What did you get from that?
What I got from that is he is a classic example of multiple interlocking problems. He's coming from an impoverished background, goes to an inferior school, probably did not have the the requisite support to make it through the educational process. I mean, he may have had to go to work, to sustain his family. Who knows? When you're dealing with disassembled communities, Judge Lynn Toller would always use that term. But we are seeing disassembled communities where there may have not been any help. People are struggling and trying to make it themselves. And here you have an issue, and you think that a person who is trying to keep their head above water is going to be able to give any attention to what it is that you're doing. So here you have a man who has that background, and he looks up, and at the end, it's one of those where, he's trying to he's a day laborer, and that's a hell of a position to be in. And what it reinforces for me once again is that one of the biggest problems that Black America has is that we don't have an economic base, let alone an economic base that is able to absorb what society would refer to as our hardcore unemployables. We don't have that. And when I'm in Houston, and Lord knows that these cats down here are, they're not educated men. But go past a road construction crew, go past a crew of, and sometimes it's 20, 30 men who are working on a landscaping crew. And they're not just doing residential homes. They're working on contracts with cities, with the housing authorities and what have you. I would venture to guess that a sizable proportion of those men are what they would refer to as illegals, getting paid off the books. Black folk have lost the ability, and we lost the ability long ago. If you look at the quality of this film, this has got to be the 50s or the 60s, 70s at the most recent. What this brother is basically saying is, listen, I'm a man who simply wants a job. And a man without a job within a community, you're talking about self-esteem issues. You're talking about issues dealing with family, especially when you're in a society that, and remember 1970s, late 1970s probably, the weather girls, ain't nothing going on but the rent.
Right.
You got a situation where, as a man within this society, and this is one of the most horrible situations for Black men to be put in, they want you to be a provider and a protector. Now, Black men can't, by and large, can't protect themselves even from the police. We run from them. Okay? In providing, come on. We go out on a daily basis, and what Mayad is talking about with vocational skills is right on. But we go out on a daily basis with our hat in our hand, begging white folk for an opportunity, for an employment opportunity. What can I do? I'm willing to do anything. We have historically gotten the worst jobs, and we've been the last hired and the first fired, and things have only gone worse with the Hispanic and Mexican population coming in. Because if you know nothing else about them, you know that they're going to work. And the brand of Blackness, especially the brand of Black men and Black women are partially responsible for this, is the idea, these niggas don't want to work. And nothing could be further from the truth. It's just that we're not going to necessarily sign up to work a minimum wage job, to be a slave. This is a societal issue that we're dealing with, a soul issue that we're dealing with when you're talking about socioeconomic inequalities. So I feel for this brother, and one could forge an argument that even if everything went right for him, Mark Twain says that geography is reality. If everything went right for that brother, born in the situation that he was born into, he still would have never graduated from high school and had an education. The fact that he's alive and willing and desiring to work is in many ways an accomplishment.
Is that with that statement, are we limiting ourselves
What do you mean?
by because you said that, you know, being able to do what it is that he's doing, that's an accomplishment in and of itself.
It is.
But is that limiting us? Is that stopping us from achieving more because we
No,
achieve?
no. What I'm saying is quite simply, when you look at what he has had to face and conquer and what have you,
Mhm.
it's an accomplishment that he's even sane. How many brothers that were raised up in the same situation that he was raised up in have died of drug overdoses, cirrhosis of the liver, killed themselves as far as suicide, things like that, or medicated themselves? And this is one of the things that we never talk about. What about the self-medication of Black men that is only found in the embrace or between the legs of a Black woman? So they're producing child after child after child after child. And the sexual healing, as Marvin Gaye would refer to it, that many Black women open themselves up with a series of Black men. All of that is tied in together, because you're talking about an idea, a systemic, government sponsored, okay, white society arranged plan to hoard every resource that is known to man, every one of them. And what makes that matter even worse, when you do have a few Black folk who are able to make it somewhere up near there, they behave like the white folk and look at Black people and say quite simply, I made it, why can't you?
And Maya talked about the two smarts, book smart and street smarts. I highlight the comment. Book smarts and street smarts are two different things. Smart, real.
I would just yeah, street smarts is real, okay, but I would simply say that there's only one type of smart. It's just that one individual was able to apply that intelligence within a standard academic community and learn things that way, versus another person who had to use that same level of intelligence and education and cunning in the streets, in the school of hard knocks. They're both different types of smarts. And what makes it even worse is that you could almost say that there's a difference between white smart and Black smart, or Black smart and non-Black smart, because so often the ingenuity and the brilliance that our people are innately born with is muted by, once again, where they were born. And for so many, the only opportunity that they're going to get is going to come at the behest of someone who some way, somehow, either has it in their heart, it was placed in their heart by God to reach back and help, meaning a white person, or a Black person who decides that they're going to reach out and they're going to mentor them and guide them through. And even with the trying to guide them through, there are going to be pitfalls. I just wrote a letter of a character reference for a colleague of mine whose nephew found himself with a DUI charge. Now, with that DUI charge, what could that do to his future aspirations? What could that do if that judge says, you know what, okay, I'm gonna give you 2 years so you can think about it? Those are things that happen in life. But we know study after study after study has told us that, like Ice Cube said, when you're Black, you better duck. If you before that judge, you better duck because the book is coming. With white folk, it's different. It's some compassion. Look at how many brothers they locked up behind crack cocaine and weed. And look at how the drug treatment centers are overflowing because of opioid abuse. They didn't have no damn Narcan to bring crackheads back, but they got Narcan to bring back these white folk who are overdosing. Hit you with 6, 7 different cans of that.
Exactly.
And it boils down to, once again, the fact that they have a self-interest in helping their own. And there is no greater sign of Black mental illness than your decision to not help your own. I'm not telling you to work against white folk, but damn, help your own.
You know, it's speaking on the Narcan, every time we give out a prescription of Oxycontin or, you know, a Schedule II medication,
So you're a drug dealer.
that Narcan comes with it for free.
There you go.
when they give it to them,
You're gonna need this too. You're gonna need this too. So go ahead and, you know, top yourself off. Don't do this while you're alone, because we need to have at least one of y'all to have some consciousness.
You know, I want to take up Jaja thing that he said, or she said. There's no excuse for a man not to have income. I have a grown man ask me for $2, wanted to tell him something. I bet he got weed money. And then looks like Maya doubled down on that, saying that that's true. I hate when men on the block ask for money. I don't give it to them. It's shameful. And I know Maya talked about vocational skills.
Yeah.
Is that something that could honestly be a reality, or is it something that is an effect from something else?
No, you know, the vocational education thing. I'm a Washingtonian. I'm a disciple of Booker T. Washington. I put my weight behind that, despite all my academic pedigree. I've always felt that was the way for our people to go. However, when we're talking about these men on the block, let's be very fair and honestly say that I don't care who you are, you know, Black, white, what have you. There has to be some personal motivation that gets you up and makes you seek some form of help besides being just a beggar. Paul Mooney, baddest comedian this side of Richard Pryor. Paul Mooney says whenever he would go to a city to do a show, he said before the show, you know, sometime during that day, he would ride around so that he could see the community. And he said whenever he came across a homeless white person, he just started to cry because he quite simply said, what a waste of whiteness. Brothers have to be able to, and sisters, we have to have programs, we have to have mechanisms that are able to help them and aid them and guide them along the path, but they got to walk that path. We can't absolve them of all responsibility. You got outcasts. You better get up, get out, and get something. Don't spend the days of your life getting high. You know, there's a personal responsibility there. So although I may have some sympathy and some wonder regarding the idea of how you got in this situation, I'm more concerned with how you get out of this situation. And that's very difficult because we have a lot of grown men who at some moment, some point in their development, someone coddled them, someone held them too closely for too long and made them soft. And that's, for me, it takes me back to, and you've heard me say this on here many times, the great Jawanza Kunjufu quote, you know, especially when you're dealing with a community that is 70, 80% single female headed households. Jawanza Kunjufu said, you know, Black single women, they raise their daughters and love their sons. Daddy should have been there in one form or another, one way or another, raising that boy. And Black women need to, in many ways, stand down and give their sons to their fathers so that they can raise them up. You can get him over there on the weekend, on every other weekend, like we do. Every other weekend, you throw him a birthday party, take him out to eat. But that raw daily grind, if you don't get that early, you'll never get it. There's a joy that comes through struggle and achievement, and so many brothers that I deal with, they've never had that sense of achievement because at some point some woman stepped in and did it for them. Okay, didn't allow them to struggle through something. And as parents, although we, and I don't think that many Black men are able to do this with their daughters. You see your daughter struggling, you stepping in. You see your son struggling, you're like, yeah, that's good for him. That's good for him. He gonna work his way through that. I'm dealing with a situation. Do you remember International Omar?
Yeah.
Okay. This is his first week of their African American male self-mastery retreat. My son is in Cancun with International Omar right now. And I was after James. I said, listen, man, you got everything you need? You got everything you need? Yeah. I got everything I need. I'm driving to work yesterday morning. I get a text. Dad, my phone has no signal. Why doesn't your phone have a signal, son? Because in your haste of getting material things, you never thought about getting international service turned on for your phone. So I let him stew a little bit, and I got it turned on, and gave him a call. And, I don't believe he's ever answered the phone that quickly. Okay. When I called, to let him know now you have international service. That's a lesson that you don't have to just look at the material things, the clothes, the shoes that you have. Can you contact your mother when you get there? Can you contact your father? Can you contact your ride that's supposed to pick you up? Unfortunately, for far too many males within our community, they don't get that type of instruction from a father figure, from any male figure whatsoever. And I believe that we do a disservice when we link up age with an increase in wisdom. Many of these men that you see begging for money and what have you, although they're in adult bodies, they had a mentality of an 8-year-old. Now, if you choose to help them, that's on you. If you don't, that's on you as well. Personal choice.
Excellent. I want to welcome the Forecast Radio to the program. Peace and blessings, bro. We're glad that you're here. Doc, before we move on to the sister, I do want to ask you, what do you see as that line, that thin line where, no, I'm going to let you stoop, or, I'm coming to rescue you, I'm coming to save you. Where is that line drawn? How does parents be able to assess that, to know when to jump and when they should not jump?
I would have jumped immediately if I thought my son was in any danger whatsoever. I want him to be whole, mentally, physically, and what have you. I could have had that phone service turned on in 10 seconds if I needed to. Okay. However, I knew he was safe because he's once again with International Omar, and they had their own mechanism, the guys in the program, of how they would communicate with each other and what have you. So it was just inconvenient for him. So I believe that people who have achieved something in life would be able to gauge when too much is too much. You don't want them to run a marathon their first time out. It might just be a 40-yard dash. Okay. Let you go out there, let you solve it on your own. But I'm always there. Okay. And there's a self-assurance that comes from knowing that, I'm gonna go out here, I'm gonna try and handle this. Okay. But if I can't handle it, and things get out of hand for me, I know where I can go. I know who I can call. And that's my thing is the ultimate goal of parenting. And I had somebody tell me that I was not a good parent because of this. I said my ultimate goal in parenting my son is to prepare him to live without me.
Mm.
That's my ultimate goal, that he no longer needs me. And that's just what it is, because there will come a time when I'm leaving.
Exactly.
And when I leave, look here, I'm gonna rest well, because I know that I prepared that boy to be a man in every sense of the word. Hell, I ain't never been to Cancun. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, him taking his first international flight by himself with his own passport, navigating that. I know that his mother's dropping him off at the airport, and one of my homeboys is picking him up at the other end.
Mm-hmm.
But in between, I let him have a little uncertainty. Let him go ahead and sort of wobble a little bit. We ain't gonna let you fall down, but we're gonna let you wobble. And he sent a picture. Looked like he was locked up abroad, and that's the moment when he realized that he didn't have international phone service. And so he's like, oh my God, I'm stuck here in a foreign land. I don't know where what should I do? Well, you better think about it. Think about it. Figure out how you're going to be able to figure this out. And he went back to what him and the protocol that him and International Omar and the other brothers have been doing. He knew where to go once his mind got uncluttered. He sent a message, yo, Negro, get me some international phone service, okay, and made his way to the rendezvous point. Mission accomplished. And now when he comes back, wherever else he decides he wants to go, I'm gonna make that happen for him. And he's gonna be able to walk with more confidence than he did on this one.
Excellent. And I want to welcome Sankofa Spirit to the program. Peace and blessings. Sankofa Spirit, we're glad that you're here with us. And Jaja, welcome you to the program as well. We're glad you're here with us. Sankofa Spirit points out a good point, Doc, I want you to deal with. Most of the boys I grew up with were on the right path until high school. Once we reach high school, they shift their focus to girls and money. Now, is that something that's just a natural thing that just happens? It's not a...
Come on, man. You was there. You know what I'm saying? That's natural. Your hormones then kicked in, and that girl, that you liked in elementary school, you done had your eye on her the entire time. The one you hit every during recess, you'd run up and hit her. That was your way of letting her know that you liked her. Now you're a little older and you realize that you got to compete with, unfortunately, brothers that are 21, 22, 23, who got cars and what have you, and they coming after your girl because that's who she is in your mind. Puberty. It's a natural extension. But the thing is that even in puberty, because all males and all females are going through that, it is in puberty. It is the absence of what I would consider guardrails for boys and girls within our community. You can't stop that biological maturation, the changes in mentality. You can't. The voice is going to change because now they're young men and what have you. So why can't we have mechanisms within our community that allow them to be what they are, young men, yet at the exact same time continue down what you consider to be that right path at the same time? We can do that. White America does that. Asian America does that. Even the Jews do that. with their interesting mating habits and dating habits and what have you. It's doable. The problem that we have is quite simply the margin of error for Black youth, male and female, is nearly non-existent, because the moment that white system gets their hands on our children for even the smallest offense, you looking at 2 to 3 years of court appearances, probation, and then maybe some parole if you got locked up. And that's our fault, because we have not been good stewards of our vote, of our organizational skills. We can organize getting together for a party. Why can't we organize a political party that could put someone who looks like us, who loves our children, which is more important than them even looking like us, so that when our children have a juvenile misstep, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't create significant roadblocks for the glorious future that they're still able to have.
Excellent, excellent. Now I want to move on to our sister here. I'm gonna go ahead and play her little part, and then we'll come back and discuss it.
They take everything you got away. Have you ever walked into a place and they ask you, what are you on? When you're in, have you ever been, well, you go to a doctor's office, you see a lot of people's writing out checks, and you hand them your Medicaid slip, because you can't pay for yours. So that takes respect from you. It takes everything you got away from you, really. I did work after I had my baby. And I wasn't living in a Section 8, and I was paying rent, light, and gas, and I couldn't afford it. Plus I was paying child care and everything, so therefore I couldn't afford to pay child care and all that, so I had to quit.
If you work the same area regular.
Okay, so that was our sister dealing with the ability to be able to pay when you go to the doctor and you pull out the checkbook, like you see white folks or anybody else put out their checkbook and pay what they got to pay. Life happened. She had a baby. She couldn't afford to continue to work. So now she's Section 8 in welfare. Why is it where you get welfare or Section 8 that pride is tied into that, where you don't feel that you're as good as the next person because you're on this program?
The thing for me is that it's the propagation of a narrative, a false historical racist narrative, that Black folk, we swallow hook, line, and sinker. That if you are on Section 8, if you are on WIC, if you are on, whatever public assistance, that you're less than, that you're a failure. Mm-hmm. I mean, the image of welfare, the image of Section 8, the image of public assistance has a Black face, and that's intentional. While numbers-wise, there are more white folk on Section 8 and welfare assistance than Black folk could ever imagine to be, just numerically, because it's so many of them. However, when you have a situation where, and this ties back to our brother, he's born into substandard conditions and what have you, that ain't his fault. This sister's been born in the substandard conditions, that ain't her fault. You're born to who you're born to in the situation that you're born within. We're not talking about someone who hasn't gone out and worked. Let's be honest. Being Black and poor in America comes at a cost, a significant cost. They are not going to pay you at a reasonable rate. And you hear this sister talking about, I was working. I was this, I was that. Now, when people sit up in here and they look at her and they're like, oh, well, you shouldn't have been having them kids. Tell them white folk that. Mm-hmm. Tell them white folk that, okay? Because there are more of them. You can find more of them than you can of us. It is more of them on public assistance than anybody else, but they're not. If they are covered, it's going to be a slant that's put on it. Well, you know, Americans today, hardworking Americans today are still struggling with such and such and such. It's never going to be, look at you big, you're black, you're greasy, you done had this baby, you can't take care of yourself or the baby or what. And our people fall into that. This sister is probably even falling into believing some of that bullshit. Because in many ways coming up, I guarantee you, she was raised in a household where she said, when I get grown, that'll never happen to me. Well, it ain't because your mother, your grandmother, your aunts, and your uncles were somehow inferior. They're dealing with a stacked deck. And that stacked deck begins with the educational system. Okay? Kevin Samuels would say this: competency gets compensated. Well, your ability to be competent in something was marginalized and set aside when you went to that inferior school. So in many ways, the die has been cast. It's just waiting until your back breaks from the pressure. That's what it's waiting for. And then they're going to plaster your black ass as yet another black failure. And how many of these black failures can we see before black folk begin to say, you know what? That's her fault. If she had did X, Y, and Z, she would. Well, those weren't options. That brother that we just saw, it wasn't an option for him to finish high school. And there wasn't a mentor or a guide that stepped in and said, okay, brother, but we're going to get this GED. And we need for you to stay out of the criminal justice system. Majority of people who are locked up, black folk who are locked up in particular, they're not there for no violent crime. Property crimes. Stealing some bread, some lunch meat. Why? And I would go so far as to say that we aren't the criminals. The original criminals are these corporations and these businesses that don't pay people a livable wage because they want profits. They ain't breaking even. They're exploiting these people. You know, and it reminds me of this great line by KRS-One. He says, if black and white didn't argue the most, they could clearly see the government screwing them both. But it's easy to screw black people because you have masses of white people who cheer it on as if they're cheering for the Kansas City Chiefs. Versus looking around and saying, well, damn, we catching it too. And instead of saying, well, yo, why don't we put our forces together and work together? White folk are wedded to whiteness. They're addicted to it. It's what LBJ was saying. As long as you let them feel that they got somebody that's lower than you, they will not only let you pick their pockets, they will what? Empty them for you. Instead of looking at us as potential allies working against an exploitive system, white folk have turned against what is a natural ally for them, someone they should be in bed with politically, and chosen a different path. And that path is to turn on them and say, well, we have it rough too. Well, you fucking cowards. Yeah, y'all got it rough too. Why don't y'all go talk to the corporations instead of looking at us because we ain't got nothing. And the little we have, if you want to take it from us, it wouldn't help you appreciably.
Definitely. You know, Sankofa Spirit said that if the United States would have paid that 40 acres and a mule, our people wouldn't need public assistance. They created wealth. They created the wealth gap and then complained because our people need help. Even when we look at reparations today, Doc, and
wait a minute. Before you go there, hold your thought.
Okay.
My problem with that is look at today's farmer. If today's farmer was not getting these government subsidies, they'd all be broke. So even if we got those 40 acres and a mule, in time, that would have been eroded because you're talking about corporations taking over. even the production of food. But go ahead, bro.
When we're dealing with reparations, people say that, well, if you give black people the money, all they're going to do is turn around and go give it right back to the white man. And, you know, my thing on that.
Which is a great sign of what they think about black people and how damaging the black image is, that we're fucking imbeciles.
But in my thinking on that is that if you're a person living in the projects and you get $100,000, $1 million, you know, you're going to want to get out of the project. So you're going to go buy you a house. You're going to go to the white man and you find a house, you're going to buy it, or you're going to go to the white man that got the land that you're going to buy the land from and put your house on. You're going to go to the white man to do that. If you walking and you got this money, now you want you a car, 9 times out of 10, you're going to go to a white car lot, because you ain't going to the buy here, pay here. You're going to the top car lot to get you a ride. And so my thing is, when that argument is made, well, you just going to go give the money to the white man. But that's just the way that the shit is. Yeah. Because they the one who got the shit, So trying to use that as a stick to say that, we're irresponsible with money.
I mean, it's what a pre-existing bias looks like. I saw a meme, and they were talking about how your preconceived notions and beliefs about a people color how you react to them. And they had a picture of this little chubby, blonde-haired white girl who was eating a big size, large of McDonald's French fries. And it said, depending upon how you feel about her, will determine if A, you look at this picture and say, oh, look at that cute girl just having herself a French fry break. Or B, look at this little fat bitch eating up all these goddamn French fries, eating up all the French fries. Black folk are the latter. That regardless of what we do, okay, we're going to be castigated for it. Okay. And and the truth of the matter is, give white folk $1 million and see what they do with it. Who are lower middle class and working class and poor, see what they gonna do with it. And in the same report that talks about black folk going and buying a house for $400,000, will say, look at how they spent 40% of the reparations money on housing. That's not wise, because now they're going to have property taxes that they can't pay, and they're going to, white folk do it. Now, see, that's sensible. They went and they brought themselves some land. They're going, this is something that will be passed down through generations. And this, come on. And my thing is that be fair, be consistent, and also recognize that if you're black, they talking about your ass too.
That's right. That is so right. That is so right. Is it a dereliction of duty to take the view of your enemy dealing with how you see your own people?
Not if the view is the correct one to advance your people. But W.E.B. Du Bois talks about that very thing on the first page of The Souls of Black Folk. He says, it is a peculiar sensation to view oneself through the eyes of another. Unfortunately, that analysis could be the correct one. Okay. Even a broke clock is right twice a day. Even the Kansas City Chiefs have won the Super Bowl twice. Shit happens. Versus, if the analysis is correct, then there are times when you may have to very well say, damn, that's correct. I don't think that you should, if you're interested in liberating your people, I don't think that you should just take a oppositional position because of what someone said. You know, one of the hardest things for us to deal with is the idea of interracial alliances. You know, Huey P. Newton and the Black Panther Party dealt with this with the Peace and Freedom Party. And Huey weighs in on this and he says, listen, there's nothing wrong with black-white alliances as long as we're always in control of our agenda and where we're going. Now, the moment they need to go right and we need to keep going straight forward, alliance is over. They've used us to advance their agendas. The Jews have done it. White folk have done it. Asians have done it. And now they have turned around and tried to attack us, but that shit is backfiring on them, which is hilarious. Groups of people should forge alliances when they're beneficial. You shouldn't sit on the sidelines simply because of someone's past history. Now, you may not want to trust their asses 100%, but sitting on the sideline for the sake of sitting on the sideline makes no sense.
So Maya asked the question, what does advance look like for us?
I believe that we have several different populations of black folk running at the same time. So you would have to identify which group you're talking about. If you're talking about poor, working class black folk, I believe that advancement looks like the dispensing of relevant education and movement towards entrepreneurship within a community that now has the understanding of supporting them financially and even socially and culturally. Just because a black restaurant is charging a little bit more does not mean that we should not support them, because they're not participating in it's not an even playing field. And it may be the only place in our community that would hire 4 or 5 of the hardcore unemployables who could then possibly get married, produce families, and keep that tradition going.
So Doc Sankofa says that earlier Doc spoke on women wanting to purchase red bottoms and visit France. Can we expect these women to be responsible with a reparations check?
No. Can I yield my mic? No. It's just what it is. There's nothing more to say about it. I mean, what money does for you, money provides options. It illuminates who you are. It's just what it is. Now, could we come up with a black social responsibility curriculum that they should have to engage in before they do it? We could try that, but they, like Jay-Z said, man, you was who you was before you got here. That's what they're gonna do with their money. And they and this may be uncomfortable to really accept it, but they got every right to do that. You have every right to throw your fucking money away. But once you threw your money away and you're broke again, put them motherfucking red bottoms on and shit, kick your feet up on your couch in front of a mirror and just say, look at them red bottoms I got on, and click them motherfuckers together like you Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz.
All right, I want to go to this next video and we come back and comment. And this is talking about black people wear the mark of Cain.
Oh, Lord.
Bible say that African Americans are the children of Cain. Where does the Bible say
The
that?
Bible talks about the mark of Cain, and you can interpret the Bible any way you can. And until recently, lots of
No, you can't. You can't interpret the Bible any way you can and be intellectually honest.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, well, you can do anything you want, right? Yeah, but you don't have to have a PhD in the Bible to understand that those slave owners who used the Bible to justify slavery were perverting the living daylights out of it.
Watch this.
black people wear the mark of Cain. That's in the Bible.
No, it is not. Show me where in the Bible it says that black people wear the mark of Cain. Show me that.
Are you a racist?
Really, give me one example.
Dude, there's tons of it. And then how also do you explain Mormons? I mean, what about Mormons?
Yeah, you got out of the kitchen because it was getting hot. I don't blame you. You got out of that kitchen real fast.
I mean, if we want to go into it, the Bible.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Go into it. Where does the Bible say that African Americans are the children of Cain? Where does the Bible say
The
that?
Bible talks about the mark of Cain, and you can interpret the Bible any way you can. And until recently, lots of
No, you can't. You can't interpret the Bible any way you can. And
Now, as you can see with this dumb idiot, and this is this is my problem with, allying with these crackers. It's just, they're so fucking stupid, but their ideology when it comes to black us, is not a good one. Period. Point blank.
That's not a potential ally. You can't ally with that bitch.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way you can. Okay, she has her mind made up and has no foundational backing for what it is that she's saying. She's not a potential ally. We can't. You can't evaluate the utility and worth of an interracial alliance based upon this fool right here. When she talks about, there are tons of them. There are 10,000 of them. Example. Well, give me one. And she keeps her psycho bimbo babble going. She can't give you anything like that. That's not that nobody can ally with that. She's a person who is going to follow whatever she comes across and that fits how she fucking feels. And it's just what it is. And he's one that you could ally with. Okay? Because at least his is grounded in a understanding and study. You could ally with that guy. But the moment that he decides that they need to go do this, X, and you need to go do Y and Z, that alliance is over. Not that we can't still be cooperative, we can't still be cordial or what have you, but the alliance is over. But that shit, no, you can't align with nobody that's like that. Nobody could. I mean, come on. Come on. I wouldn't even engage her. It doesn't even make any sense to even engage her. For what? Because she's not operating from a base of facts.
Mm-hmm.
So why even engage her? She's going with some shit that somebody done told her. That's not scriptural.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth of the matter is that when you're talking about the mark of Canaan, she don't even know what story that comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Canaan was not even born when the words "cursed be Canaan" were uttered. But a person like that would know that. She come on, man. Come on. It's one of the reasons there's certain people I don't even fucking talk to.
And it's like two things with that, because when we meet people like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, my idea of meeting a person like that, and we get into this type of conversation, that I'm gonna cut her head right off. I'm not gonna spare her no niceties. I'm just gonna destroy her.
You can't destroy her. That's a zombie. You can use a double-edged true sword. She don't even know her fucking head been cut off because she's not listening to you. She's not debating a fact. She's regurgitating, reciting something that somebody said to her. That ain't based upon nothing. You'll never be able to kill her zombie-minded ass. She doesn't understand that what he's saying is really cutting her head off. She continues. They're not worth your time. There is no winning them over. Your time is better spent dealing with your own and educating them. You can't win those type of people over.
No, and it's never, for me, it's never a position of winning them over. It's for the position because there's always black us around watching, listening.
Okay.
and you take that head and you show to the other black person, this is what we do. This is how we handle them. So we destroy them because that is a battlefield. And as I said, our people are always watching.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Exactly. It's like when we were in St. Louis and we were in this Juneteenth thing where we were walking down and they were doing the chants and the beating the drums and all that to the water where, the slaves brung our ancestors. And there was this cracker out there with his little Christian flag and his, white on. And, and I'm standing and I'm watching this nigga. And I'm like, okay, after the little festivities was over, then I went over there to question him. And of course, there was black people standing all around. And Doc, I tell you, I took that cracker's head right off. And, the black people was around. Some of them was, yeah. Some of them was coddling the white folks. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And, and I slashed their ass right along with them. It was like, I'm leaving none to be able to say that, you didn't never hear the truth. You're going to hear it real cut, simple, plain. I ain't playing around with you. It was, I wish I still had that video. But it got taken down when we lost our other channel. But
why was the channel lost?
Huh?
Why was the channel lost?
Because them damn crackers just don't like what I be saying.
Oh boy.
They don't like it. They don't like it. So hey, it is what it is. But I want to go back because Maya talked about the wigs, the weave, the clothes, the eyelashes, the jewelry, liquor, trips to Dubai, and all that kind of foolishness, which I detest. I hate it, But that, Doc, is a sickness, right, from a bigger disease, that we're watching. So the thing would be, and when I see these sisters with these damn eyelashes on, that's like, are you serious? What the fuck? They don't even look right, but the real thick and long eyelashes out there. And it's like, what are you doing to yourself?
I had a sister who came in my class like that. About a couple. It was before COVID, and she came in and I'm like, what the fuck? And she's sitting in the front row, and apparently they were bothering her eyes. And as I'm lecturing, I see her literally peel them off of her eyes because they were bothering her so much. And I had one of the other students go and get her like a towel or something, put some water on it to help her out. The eyelash thing, really all of it. Ain't no righteous man told you, oh yeah, I like that shit. So they're doing that. They're doing that for a status symbol, almost as a rivalrous, contemptuous competition against other black women. But that idea of what some kinds of, what some people would do with that money, and I like the last part of it, all kinds of foolishness. That's who they are. That is truly what they have learned somewhere along the line is their rich life. That's success for them. And everybody ain't gonna be saved. And I think that we have to spend less time thinking that everyone's going to be saved and pouring our full brunt into those who are receptive, who've not made up their minds to be fucking fools. Let the fools go ahead and be fools, and let those who want to be saved be saved. That's who I focus on.
But Doc, how do you, and this is my problem, because, even though I know we can't save everybody, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to try, So how do
Well, how
you?
many? So how many of those that you could have saved are lost because you're over here dealing with disrespectful, directionless people?
I don't know. I don't know.
And see that's
Mhm.
one of the things that I decided a long time ago, being an educator. If I'm more interested in your success than you are, I pull back. And if they show no inclination whatsoever to want to be saved, look at here, let them go and focus upon those who can't be saved. And you just you hate it for them, but if they like it, you got to love it. That's what they want to do. So let them go ahead and do what they want to do and save those that you can. Because what we ultimately end up doing is we spend time on individuals who are at the level of a 1 or 2 to get them hopefully to a level of 4 or 5. And we ignore those who are at a 7 or 8 who we could actually realistically get to the level of a 10. The majority of these people are followers. The great field of dreams statement, build it and they will come, I think holds sway. Because all you really need, and somebody put up there talking about the baby hair swirl, all you really need is maybe 3 or 4 prominent individuals that they look up to go ahead and do it a different way. And you'll see them fall in line behind it. Just show, don't be like Malcolm. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad told Malcolm, you're too argumentative. Instead of telling people about their dirty glass, show them your clean glass. Give them a chance to look at it. What is the alluring thing about the Nation of Islam, about the FOI? It is that sterling, strong image that they show of you, that they show to the world, that they show to black men of what manhood looks like. That's a much different tactic than going out being like, pick your pants up. No, I'm going to show you what a black man looks like. I'm going to show you the power that comes from being a black man. This is what we do. We're socially appropriate, but when we need to cut somebody's head off, regardless of who they are, for the sense of truth and righteousness, we do so. And then we keep our bearing, we keep our righteousness, and we move on to the next task.
Definitely. And I'm gonna address Brother Robert's comment where it says Allah is the only savior. We can't save nobody. It is Him and Him alone that saves. And my position is this: is that He has blessed me with a knowledge to be able to teach, and so we teach. And in that teaching is the same thing as if we're fighting. Allah says that it was not you who slew them, but I slew them by your hands. And so when we're delivering the word to wake up our people, to give them that which will save them, it's not I, but it is Allah in us that is bringing the word to save our people. And that is something, because I don't want our people to think that we can't save. We have the ability by learning the word, teaching the word, and living it, and we will, because Allah will use us to get that stuff done. So I don't want us to think that we don't play a part in the saving of our people, because we do. We play a huge part in the saving of our people. That's why it says that if you don't tell them, then they'll lose their life, they'll lose their soul. But if you warn them and they don't listen, then their blood is removed from your hands. So
Yeah, but I'm with you on all of that. But come on, bro. We got the internet, we got phones, we've got it is almost unfathomable to believe that with all of this TikToking going on and all of this stuff going on, that you have not come across some element of truth. Me, who have no understanding whatsoever about fashion, except for, as you can see, I have my, my Notorious B.I.G. shirt on today. That's as good as it's gonna get. It's a Bed-Stuy day today. Even I, who is totally disjointed from the idea of fashion, knew about red bottom shoes. Now, if me, who has no interest at all in that type of stuff, is aware of that, them that have no interest whatsoever in Black liberation, they didn't came across one or two videos, one or two TikTok moments. Okay, they're willfully choosing to do what they want to do. We've shown them. It's not on us. We've shown them. And the idea, and these people, you run after them, and they gonna treat you like a chump. So let white folk have them. And then after that ass whooping, because white folk can whoop some ass. They've been whooping ass for centuries. Okay. Look here. While you over there getting your head whooped on, we over here building. So that when you need to come over here and get some Black righteousness and get healed, we here. Now, if you want to act up again, cast your ass out, send you back over there with them white folk, and you see how they feel about you. So sometimes you're gonna just have to let them bump their head.
Definitely, and I run into people all the time, and they may get, TikTok may be something that flash the pain of light in their faces, or they may have a hit in reality of something that they don't understand. Why is it happening, and why are these people the way that they are? And that gives you that time to go ahead and lay it out there so that they can open up their eyes and really see. It's just like our people are blind and they need that spittle on their eyes so that they can see. They need that word to come into them, because life, is going to whoop you in such a way that you're going to be ready for that message. You're going to be ready for it when it comes and hits you, and then you'll be ready to get up on your square.
And that's why I say let them go ahead and spend their reparations on all that bullshit they're gonna spend it on. And when white folk knock the wig off their fucking head and their eyelashes fly to the left and their red bottoms fly to the right, and them baby heads are sticking up like little devil horns, they'll be ready then. And we'll be here. The best thing we can do is be prepared when you come home. Okay? When you come home, you're gonna be good.
Definitely. And we're going to go take a look at our last video for today. And this one I found very interesting. And we're going to look at it and get your take on it.
All right, what's up with y'all? So listen, man, somebody hit me up with a video, just a real short video, basically stating that. Well, before I even do that, let me say, I hope that everybody out there having a good day. I want to send out some positive energy. If you supporting this channel and watching this channel, you know what I'm saying? That's what's up. I really do appreciate y'all. But let's get straight into the video. And I'm only saying it to my supporters, so yeah. But somebody hit me up with a video a while ago, just basically stating that she's seen it.
Hey, could you pause it for a second? I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like braids tied into the hat, or does he have it braided into his hair? That's a strange look. I mean, really look at that. That's what's hot in the streets.
He's the only brother that I've ever seen like that. I haven't seen anybody else like that.
Yeah, that's strange right there. Okay.
She's a runaway. She's 14 years old, and she was allegedly beat up by a boyfriend that's older than her. Now, I haven't seen the video yet. We just getting straight into it right now. But basically, long story short, I want to say that, you got to be more watchful when it comes to these kids, man, because they are getting involved with a lot of things that they shouldn't be, and it's crazy. And I want to say this too. I know a lot of y'all, some of y'all out there, you know what I'm saying, kids be watching these videos too, and some get the same outcome. But anyway, go. We're finna get into the video. I want to know your thoughts and opinions on the whole situation, and if this girl is still out on the loose, be looking out for her. But let's go ahead and get straight into it and see what's going on real quick, man. I'm ready to see. Hit the like button too if you're rocking with me on the channel.
Don't touch me. Get away from me. Yeah, I am. I don't care. Get away from me.
Since she on live.
No, get away from me. No, get away from me. I want to go home. I want to go home. Get away from me. You busting my face. You busting my face. Get away from me, folks. Move. Move, get away from me. Move, you should never bust in my face on me. I swear to God, bro. Move. My mommy's over here. Move. My face is bust open, bro. My face ain't never been touched. You move, I don't care. Girl, my face was not looking like that. My face was so pretty, bro. I can't go as I want to. It's just you a nigga, bro. You should not been putting your hands on me. Yes, you did.
Hey, bro. On a 5, she on 5.
Yeah, I am. No, who gonna make? No, who gonna make? Ain't you not? Ain't you not?
Shut up.
Don't touch me. Don't touch my face. No, move. Get away from me. Move. I was just stay talking to Zachary, bro. He would have never put his hands on me. I swear to God, he would have never put his hands on me, bro. I don't care. He would have never put his hands on me. Stop touching me. Don't touch my phone. Look at my face, my nigga. Hey, look at my face.
Okay, yeah, what y'all seeing it right there? You know that part. I just.
Okay, so there you have the little 14-year-old girl who ran away with a grown man, and he wound up beating on her after he done, had his way with her. And so she's on Instagram talking, telling them to get away, all this, that, and the other. Her mama is watching in the chat of seeing what the hell is going on. This 14-year-old girl is definitely in the wrong place at the wrong time, around a whole bunch of niggas. What say you about that, Doc? You on mute? We can't hear you.
I said it and feel, the exact same thing that you're saying. It's unsettling, disturbing, and not that I'm excusing the actions and the antics of as you put it, the niggas who have done that. They're wrong through and through. There has to be something wrong with you psychologically to be that age, to be a grown man dealing with a 14-year-old. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's some maladaptation and absence of morality and understanding that's emanating from the grown folk. Yet at the exact same time, what are you doing 14 years old running away with a grown man? Mm-hmm. You're rebelling against something that could have been handled in a much better and more efficient way. And I can't, I don't have the words to express how sad that is. And it's in many ways an indictment and an indicator that there are some within our midst who have become the very monsters that we have taken vows to defy. But a child, and keep in mind, we're talking about a child who has made these adult decisions, is now, she's lucky she was able to get on Facebook Live. Mm-hmm. Because I sit up every, and when we get off today, I'm going to watch either 2020 or Dateline, and invariably it's going to be a similar story of a female who is going to be who's coming up disappeared and they never find them again.
Mhm.
Just troubling, yet it's another sign of Black mental illness that Black men have, many Black men have absconded their responsibility to serve as the protectors of the community and have chosen instead to become wolves within the community, preying upon even our baby girls.
Mhm. Definitely. And we don't know what kind of home the
Yeah,
little
I mean,
girl has
there's
come from.
so many unknowns. She's definitely not from a traditional home.
Mhm.
If she is, she's one of the outliers. But
Mhm.
I would argue that she's not from a traditional home just by the vernacular that she's
Right.
utilizing.
Mhm.
And everything's wrong about that,
Mhm.
and I pray. I don't have any data to back this up, but I pray that this type of behavior from this young lady and this experience from this young lady is more the exception than the rule. I hope that Black America, if we don't do many other things, that we can double down on creating a safe space for our young men and women to grow up in normal lives, because they're not what society has painted them to be, and they're often not what many folk in Black America believe them and hope them to be.
Mhm. Dr. Menace Farrakhan said that a nation can rise no higher than its woman.
Yeah.
And we're looking at that 14-year-old girl. Um, what does that say for our people that even her, she's not safe. She's not in a and I'm saying she's not even safe at home because
Yes.
obvious things have been missing
Yep.
that should have been there that are not there,
Yep.
and now she's where she is. What does that say? To me, that shows a dereliction of duty
Hmm.
right there in the home.
Hmm.
If her mom is going to church, the church has failed. The school has failed. Her home life failed all around. Um,
And she has failed.
yes, and she has failed. And she has failed. Do you believe that what she's going through is enough wake up call to get her on the straight line?
No. And the
Mm.
reason I say no is quite simply the socialization factors that have forged what we're seeing there are waiting for her return. And when she returns to that, um, and the shock wears off of what she went through, there is there's something to be said for the great saying, well, this is just what we do. Um, she could very well, because and let's be honest, that we're born often with the temperament, the ability to focus or not to focus, that those who produced us have. She's going right back into that same situation. And by the time you're 14, 15 years old, you are who you are. Your identity has been formed, and you're not going to sway too much from that. And as a young runaway, who we're only seeing this runaway attempt. There could have been others, because she continues to say, well, he would have never touched my face. That could have been another pimp that she had fallen under. Who knows what's going there? And it's unfortunate that, speaking as a Black man about a Black community that I was raised and reared in, I can't say a single thing that says, well, I know that didn't happen because Black folk don't do that. We have adopted and begun to replicate this greedy, avaricious, ends justify the means civilization.
Mhm.
And it's really unfair to even call it a civilization. You know, you're talking about with everything, what is the outcome that you want? And the outcome that the young girl probably wanted was to get away from the home she was raised in. The outcome that the adult male wanted was to get some of that young thing and to control that girl.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, in this situation, it looks like both of them got what it is that they wanted in one form or another.
Mm-mm. And you know, when I first heard it, I thought the same thing when she was saying, you know, he wouldn't have hit me in my face. You know, it's like, okay, he wouldn't hit you in your face, but you're not saying he wouldn't have hit you.
Yes.
You know, and that's a big thing. It's like, you know, and I think I've told you the story before. You know, one day I was in Walmart walking, and I had some teenage girls, sisters in front of me, you know, doing their shopping at the same time, and they were talking. And she was like, you know, I want me a trap nigga. And she was like, but I don't want him to be rough on me. I want him to be gentle. And she was like, and the friend was like, well, you don't want no trap nigga. Now, I'm thinking they're talking about trapping a nigga. So, you know, I text my son and asked him what a trap nigga is. You know, and he explained to me, oh, Pop, that's a dude, you know, in the crack house selling drugs. That's what it is, a drug dealer. So then it made sense, you know, and she was like, well, you know, I want me a trap nigga because he got money, he got this, he got that. And the friend was like, yeah, but he gonna whoop your ass too when he feel like it, you know. And she was like, well, you know, I just want one that can be nice. And it's like in my mind, and I told them, why would you accept any man to beat on you? You know, and I was like, I'm sorry to butt in, but you know, I'm listening, and I just have to say something. Why would you accept that as your station in life? And she's like, well, it don't matter because you're gonna get beat on regardless. So if you're gonna get beat, you might as well get beat by a man with money than the man who don't got no money. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, look, that doesn't have to be our reality, your reality. That you have to already accept that the man that you're going to get is going to whoop your ass. That's a non-starter, you know. And you know, and I'm telling them this, and I'm looking at them look at me like, you know, he don't know what the hell he's talking about. But yet I'm telling you truth that you shouldn't accept that as your station in life, that you're going to get your ass beat, but you might as well get your ass beat by a man with money than a man who don't got money. You know, that says a lot about the status of our girls, you know, what they see, that this is life, you know. It's heartbreaking, Doc.
Well, and then it also says a lot if you switch genders, that this quote unquote trap nigga learned that this is how you treat black women.
Right.
They were socialized and they were groomed to that, as Sankofa's spirit puts it. You know, there's so many layers to our dysfunction, so many layers, and it's like, you know, save those that you can, but at the same time, there's a level of ignorance and stubbornness that we can experience within our people that makes them inaccessible to a better life, to a different reality in a different truth. And God help them, you know, God help them. And that's really all that I can say, is that, you know, I wish them the best in what it is that they're dealing with and what they're going through. But we ain't getting out of this thing easily, not at all, because they have our minds. They've had our minds for long enough that they've been able to forge a dysfunctional culture. And then the never-ending messages of this is who you are that are piped into our people is incredible. And how do you get beyond that? How do you conquer that? I don't know. I don't know, especially not in a mass scale.
Mhm. Definitely, definitely. And, it's really like, wow, this is what you see as your reality. And not even understanding, as Mayat and Sankofa Spirit says, that words have power. Not even realizing, what they're speaking into their own very lives. Is really amazing to see how far the disconnect is.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. I mean, you're literally talking about having to re-socialize 3, 4 generations of Black folk.
Mhm.
And you're on top of that, you're talking about needing to come up with a way for these Black folk to love each other. And that's extremely difficult when you're dealing with the people who seem to enter into this world with an anger, a grudge, a disdain for their own kind. And many of them don't even recognize what their own kind is. They have not a consideration of it at all. And I mean, man, when you really think about the level, and it's not just the children, it's adults as well who are so fucked up in the head that it will blow your mind. If I when I go to the gym, very few Black men speak to me. Every once in a while, very few, and I'll see them walk right past me and walk right up to a white person, acknowledge them, talk to them, have a good old conversation. And you really have to, think. And then the thing is that for me, the drawing of connections that people have. One of the things that, and this was several years ago, one of the things that I do with my students, I stay in contact with my students. I'm still Dr. Jones to them, and we'll get together and have lunch, dinner, or whatever. And I remember meeting with one of my female students, a Mexican girl, very very attractive Mexican girl, and we were sitting down in this popular Papados, this place called Papados here in Houston. And we're sitting down there just talking. She's letting me know, she's going to be the next AOC. She's a community activist, brilliant sister. There was a Black woman who got up from her table, from her seat, to come over and to tell me, what are you doing with her? She don't want you. You out here chasing after this young girl and blah, 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 blah. Right. Well, my student's boyfriend was coming, and he was a brother. He comes in, I greet him and all this. My first time meeting him, he sits over there next to her and puts his arm around her. We finish what we're doing. And as I'm walking out, the sister said, "Oh, brother, can I talk to you for a second?" I said, "No, not really." "Oh, I just read that totally wrong and blah, blah." I said, "Yeah." I said, "But you know what the thing is? You made all that shit up in your head. Means that you either got some type of mental shit going on or your soul just stinks." Because never in your mind could you imagine a man sitting down in and talking with a young girl and it not be sexual, it not be this, and not be. And she was like, I'm just so embarrassed." You should be.
Right.
And when you're talking about it, it's one thing if you're talking like you're listening, like you were talking with the young girls, and you hear them talking about, "I want to trap nigga, blah, blah." Well, you got some elements of information there. But I think that far too often our people are treating each other like Ralph Ellison's The Invisible Man. We're ascribing to the person that we're seeing all the negative characteristics and caricatures that we have about Black folk in general. And if you are dumping those characteristics, the ones that you hate the most, upon Black folk, how in the hell are you expect to have any civil conversation, let alone a burgeoning productive relationship with them? it's impossible.
Exactly. You know, and you know, I'm the same way at work, and I see our people. I make sure that I speak. I make
Yeah.
sure, you know,
Yeah.
I'm looking you in your face. Hey, how's it going, brother? How's it going, sister? You know, and some doc, you can see, you know, they you know, put their phone up because they want to try to like hide, not say that.
I call it the 6 foot stare away. When they get to 6 feet away from you, when you're approaching it, they look down.
Yeah, and you know, I make sure I talk to them. And you know, where I work at, I'm seeing these people, you know, every day, you know, from doctors to, you know, people that clean up rooms and stuff, you know. So I'm forcing them to acknowledge my presence. I'm forcing them to speak with me, you know, hey, brother, hey, sister, you know, so we can develop that when you see me, you see your brother. You don't see an enemy. You don't see a stranger. You see your brother. And, you know, I've been doing that now, and some have come around, some still try to hide in that phone, you know, but you force it. I just continually to force it. And you would think that our doctors would be more, you know, okay about it.
Why? Why would you think that? You know, my pastor, the Reverend Dr. Johnny R. Hecker, he said, always remember that education ain't never done nothing for the heart.
Yeah. Well, he ain't never lied, boy. I'm telling you. You know, it's one sister that I see every day, almost every day. And you know, first she used to walk and be looking away. You know, now I finally got her acknowledging me. How you doing? You know, how you doing? Give me real quick. How you doing? And keep on. But it's a work in progress. You know, the stiff-hearted heart of our people. You know, stiff-necked. You know, rebellious. You know, want to always live up to the enemy and dish your own. You know, it's really is a sad sight. It is a sad sight, because one thing, the enemy is not going to turn over his to save you. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. But this is just part one, because I've been working on this subject, the dereliction of duty. Let's examine all the players, and so we're starting at the ground level, and you know, we're going to continue up, and up, and I want to just real quickly, when our entertainers step in and act as if they're able to lead us politically. Part of this, there was an interview with Hillary Clinton that Mary J. Blige did with her when she was running for president against Donald Trump. And as I was researching the interview, just listening to it and taking the points that we'll discuss, it almost came to me to think that Mary J. is committing treason, you know, but I don't think she's aware of the treason. And, you know, at the end of the interview, she sang a song from Bruce Springsteen, 41 Shots. And she sang that to Hillary Clinton. And she was asking Hillary Clinton, you know, what can we do to stop the carnage from the police killing Black people like this? And, you know, she was like, well, we got to get to know each other, and, you know, all this little bullshit that ain't about nothing. And Mary J. was just sitting there eating it up like she was saying something that really mattered. And so, you know, like I said, we're going to get into that video, but I want to, do you think that Mary J., Killer Mike, do you think that these entertainers understand that they're committing treason? Or are they just caught up in, you know, the moment of these things?
I mean, the charge of treason for an individual, and I know that you can commit treason without being aware of doing so. But the charge of treason in regards to these individuals, Black entertainers, I wouldn't accuse them of treason, because to execute treason means that you understand what the overall goal is, what the focus is, where we're going, what we're doing, and you willfully take actions to work against us. You got to know what the goal is, and then you take action against that goal consciously. They ain't got that type of intelligence. They don't have that type of understanding. So in many ways, what they are pawns in a larger game. But they are aware enough. Mary's aware enough to know that I can't call her on what she's saying, because if I do that, my checks will dry up, because nobody will want to do any business with me whatsoever. They're personally, they're advantageous personally. They're greedy. They're for sale for anybody who is willing to pay them. It's just what it is. There's nothing more and nothing less there. You know, the sad part for me is quite simply that when white politicians come into Black America, they're not talking to the intellectuals and the best of our thinkers. They're talking to singers. They're talking to rappers. I mean, if you were building a rocket, would you go get Killer Mike to give advice on it? You know, if you're talking about peace in Palestine, you going to get Puffy? You know, name me the leading thinkers within the Jewish community. Name me the leading thinkers within the white community, the Asian community. And then ask someone to name you the leaders of Black America. And they gon' well, you got what, Ice Cube, Mary J. Blige, you got Puff, they're all entertainers. And simply because you're an entertainer, that doesn't make you a jack of all trades. These moments always remind me of the days of chattel slavery, where they always went to get the preacher because he was likely the most educated out of the group, maybe the only one they could read within the community. We got people now who specialize in economics. I'm not going to sit up in here and talk about economics. Go get somebody else to do that, because they're more equipped, they're more capable, they're better versed in that. We don't do that when we're talking about a CNN, a MSNBC, or what have you. And so you have these talking heads who are up there and they're saying nothing. And because they're saying nothing and people are listening to nothing, they know how to do nothing.
Definitely. Do you think at some point we have to target them and either give them a political education class or make them shut the hell up and let them know you will not be able to go up there and say you represent Black thought?
But they're not beholden to you. They're beholden to the white folk that cut those checks. The same white folk that arranged for her to sit across from Hillary Clinton. You have no influence whatsoever at all upon them. And it's preposterous to even think that you can get Black folk to stop going to their concerts, because Mary is their girl and they're going to show up from it. They're not even aware of her doing an interview with Hillary Clinton. What we have to do is what the Nation of Islam did, which is create your own means and methods of communicating with your people. And every Black home needs to have those periodicals, those dispatches within their home. We have to approach this thing logically, intelligently, and not in a reactive way. Let Mary have her moment with Hillary Clinton. But our children are going to say, well, Mary failed to call her on boom, 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 boom. That's how we counterbalance this dumbing down of Black America. We provide our people with a relevant political, cultural, and social education. We have to be the ones that guide our intellectual diet. No one else. No one else has a fucking thing to say about what we feed our community intellectually. Nobody else. No one has the right to do that. I would probably take the money, but the Jews ain't called me to ask me for no reading list. They got that shit covered, apparently.
Definitely do. Definitely. All right, excellent. Well, we are at our time. We're actually over our time. Doc, you want to give your closing comments?
Peace and love to everybody. Send me some well wishes, because on Tuesday I got to stand up on a stage in front of Black women and discuss Alice Walker's The Color Purple. And it's going to get contentious up in there. Okay. Because I got to represent Black folk, Black men in particular. Ain't do no hit job on my brothers and expect for me to stand up on the stage and not act like I ain't got good sense. They thought Mr. Johnson was bad. Oh, you wait till they meet Mr. Jones. Peace and love. Love you all.
Excellent. Thanks, Doc. And I want to welcome Mr. Dolphy to the program. Peace and blessings, bro. We're glad that you made it, even though it's at the end of the program, but we're glad that you made it as well. We will
Clear
be back.
Clear sign that regardless of the educational level and the intelligence that a Black man has, he still will show up after the show and say, I can't believe that they left without me.
And we will be back Sunday at 4:00 Eastern, 3:00 Central Time. We got a good topic scheduled for Sunday, so please tune in and be on time. As we always say, you kill the nigga in you, I'm gonna kill the nigga in me, and our God will reign supreme. We are Black first, today, tomorrow, and forever. Love you, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
So you better get the message and get it straight.
You're gonna need some bridge work. It's simple as that.
Because we're living in judgment. We're living in implementation.